So in this video, we'll renovate the small, uninspiring study room into this. Let's look at what we have to do right now. The first order of action is to remove all these boxes on the floor. The desk will be changed in a future video. The right hand side will be wallpapered, the left hand side will be painted, the front wall will be painted and then cladded, and finally the back wall is going to get painted in as well.
Papa, do you know what I did to the red?
That's not nice.
With the room cleared out, the next step is to remove this old curtain pole batten. This has been power nailed in some 30 years or so back, and I need a metal blade on my multi-tool to get it out. All these nail holes will have to be filled in, and so does all the screw holes on this wall. I'm using this polyfill surface filler for this. Some of the holes needed 3 rounds of filling. Once I had filled it to an acceptable level, the next step was to sand it finger smooth using a 100 grit sandpaper. If you're wondering what that N stands for, they are just used sandpapers that don't stick on my sander anymore. With all the sanding and vacuuming now over, the next step is cleaning the wall. For this, I used a powder sugar soap solution and used a car sponge to clean the walls thoroughly. Next step is to apply primer on all the parts that I had filled in. I applied primer mainly where the old curtain batten used to be and on these screw holes. Here I taped off the laminate beads on the floor. I'm planning to paint even the skirting boards the same color as the wall. Allegedly, this gives the small room a much bigger feel. I also taped the ceiling in as well. I put in a dust sheet to protect the floor. Next is painting time. I covered the paint tray with some aluminium foil. This is so that I can reuse the tray if needed. The color used here is called Sapphire Salute from Dulux. I started out painting by cutting in the edges. If you're wondering, my inspiration for choosing this color was from this magazine. I really like the look of it. With all the edges and corners now painted, the next step is to paint the wall. I used a paint pad for this. This is the first time I'm using a paint pad, and oh boy, this is so easy and smooth to paint. Far better than a roller. While I was at it, I decided to give myself some more work. So here I'm replacing this existing worn out window frame sealant with a new round of sealant. And now for some wallpaper action. So I bought this online from a company called ilovewallpaper.co.uk, and to be honest, it's the first time I'm putting up a pattern wallpaper. Now, armed with some high quality DIY knowledge by watching some YouTube videos, I plunged headlong into it. So I used a plunge bob and marked my starting vertical line with a pencil. Then I put up some temporary sawhorses using my high chairs, plonked a sheet of MDF on top of it, and unwrapped a roll. Since this is a pattern wallpaper, I left some excess at the top. This is to give some leeway for the next sheet that gets butt up against the first one. I measured the wall length, added a bit extra, and cut the sheet with a sharp pair of scissors. Next, I mixed some wallpaper adhesive using the printed directions on the box. And started spreading the adhesive on the paper using this nylon paste brush. So first I spread it on the middle part of the wallpaper and then on the edges. Now I folded the sheets in this crisscross pattern and cleaned up the MDF table. Next was the tricky part of aligning the wallpaper to this vertical pencil line. I gently firmed up the wallpaper onto the wall using the 7-inch wallpaper hanging brush, moving from center towards the edges. This is just to push out any air bubbles that is trapped underneath it. If the crease is big, like as you see over here, I lifted the sheet up and rearranged it. I used a new wet sponge and removed any glue that could be on the surface of the paper. Using the wallpaper scissors, I cut out the excess. And then repeated this on the other areas on the wall. I purposefully left the edge free and refrained from using a full sheet of wallpaper. Since the wall is never going to be a perfect 90 degrees, it's easier to cut it out using a full sheet into 2 smaller pieces, as you see over here. And use the left hand side of this cutoff on the right hand side of the wall, and use the right hand piece of the cutoff on the left hand side of the wall. This is just to align the factory edge against the existing wallpaper edge. Now it's time to put the wall cabinets back in. And after this video was shot, I actually changed my mind and replaced that to a smaller one. I'll explain all that situation in the future video. And with that, my room is now ready. In the next few episodes, we'll follow this up with some furniture and woodworking related projects for this room. Thanks for watching, and do leave a comment below if you have any questions. Like, subscribe, and as always, stay creative. Thanks!